Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. This week, we are talking about Mistborn, the Hero of Ages, chapters 21 through 25, wherein Damu lives. Vin and Elend have, they talk. Sazed kind of presides over stuff at the Pits of Hathsin. We get a freaky spook flashback, and we revisit Tensoon a bit, where he gets the bones that I almost said that he was asking for. He wasn't really asking for him. He was doing the opposite, but reverse psychology is a new concept to the Khandra. So, and then we finally, after so long in this book, we reach Fadrex City. That was sarcasm. It hasn't been that long. I am Data, and with me is
Jamie,
Dak,
and Joe.
So hold on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound, as a reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must. And when the world starts to burn, at the point of no return, keep a hold of your conviction, tear out the affliction, before the world turns black. Stand up and take it back.
Yeah, so a lot of short middle chapters here, and then a couple of bookend chapters with some more meat to them, which I guess are both like Elend and Vin centric. So what did you guys think of these 5 chapters?
I really like getting just the little bits of what everyone's up to at once. I think that's really cool. I think that, yes, you do. I feel like in the last book we had a lot of this is what's going on in Luthadel, because mostly everyone was there, but you sort of didn't know what everyone else was up to. And I'm finding it really refreshing that there is so many different things going on and we're interested in all of them. There's no storyline at this point that I'm like, oh, I don't want to read about this anymore. So I actually really enjoyed reading this week, even though there wasn't anything like huge that happened.
Yeah.
It was still really good to read. I did feel a little bit like Spook's chapter was a bit of okay, this is where we start to feel sorry for Spook. But kind of nice to get a little bit of his history. We don't really know a lot about his story, but I feel like it's kind of setting him up to be a bigger character in the story than he has been. Kind of glad that Tensoon got his way, which was nice. And yeah, I'm really interested in the stats and the 16% thing, where that goes. So yeah, I found it really enjoyable. Lots of little bits that I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the numbers. I didn't even talk about that earlier. That's a whole weird thing happening there. But I agree. It's kind of cool that we got so many different things, and maybe everyone's favorite story may still be, like Tensoon, but that doesn't mean that the other parts are boring or anything. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of setup in these chapters. It's just like, all right, we're building stuff here. We're building up what Sazed is up to. We're building up Tensoon's thing. Wasn't a lot of payoff this time, but I guess you need the setup ones. I honestly really loved the epigraphs this week. They were really meaty and just like a lot to like, oh, that's cool. I like that. Especially with talking about, oh yeah, Ruin is behind the whole 11th metal thing that Kelsey found. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense, I guess. So yeah, a lot of, like just little tidbits here and there that are just like fun to sink your teeth into.
The epigraphs this whole book so far have been really informative.
Yeah.
And somewhat relevant to what you're reading at the time.
Yeah.
It's not like it's information that you sort of put in the vault for later. It's they're words that we're hearing in these chapters.
We're going to find out that they're all fake.
Look, maybe they are, but I think it's nice that it's something to sort of marry up straight away. You're getting that little bit of information that is relevant at the time.
At least this one isn't just banging on about his perfect memory for half the book.
Or that he's running out of space.
Or how awesome Elend was. Yep. Oh my gosh. Go on, dude.
Okay. Yeah, these chapters were good. I kind of agree with Dak. I feel like you got a lot of setup here, not a lot of payoff, but again, you got to have that kind of stuff. And I really do like the epigraphs in in this book, I just feel like it's information dump, and it's so delicious, and we're finally getting answers for stuff, so that's really cool. And then it just gives us insights into different things that we might not have thought about. It's almost like I feel like this one, more than any other book in this series, are like Brandon's annotations. Like, he's giving us information that I feel like, and he's doing it in a good way. He's not just like spitting out this information, be like, here are the answer to your questions. He's doing it kind of in a good in-story way, but it feels a lot like his annotations, where he's kind of explaining behind the scenes stuff with the world in the book that we may not get otherwise. So I really enjoy reading the epigraphs. Like I said, I've been taking notes on this book, and I actually write them down verbatim, the epigraph parts. I summarize the chapters, but I write down the epigraphs verbatim because I don't want to be tricked again.
I'm not going to be fooled again.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it. Would have liked a little more story progression in these chapters, but that's okay. We can't get that every week.
I mean, they made it like halfway across the Final Empire to Fadrex City. So
Yeah,
that's something.
Right, but we just know Vin's gonna go spy. We don't know what's going on. And I'll say this. Yeah, is it sad that Spook's dad was gonna kill him? Sure. Does that make up for all the stupid stuff he does? No.
Okay.
Also, that chapter, like, and the way Clubs showed up to take him away from the abusive parents, I'm just like, we've reached the X-Men portion of the book.
Yeah. No,
Professor
I see
Clubs.
that. Yeah. Good old Clubs. Good guy Clubs.
Yep. I never
okay.
pictured Patrick Stewart as Clubs, but now I probably can.
No, he's still Mad Eye Moody in my brain ever since we started this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, I guess let's get into these. The first epigraph really is not the most informative one of the group, but it's just like, it's not surprised that Elend became so powerful. The early Alliancers were way stronger. Didn't even need Duralumin to take control of the Kandra or Koloss once upon a time. Even Soothers and Rioters could just be like, hey, I'm going to control that. So yeah, it's no wonder that the Kandra didn't like hanging out with the humans.
But specifically the Soothers and the Rioters. Like, even Clubs hated Soothers and Rioters.
It's true.
And
Clubs, secret Kandra.
And we all hate Orion, so it's like it's not because they control, it's just because they're fucking annoying.
And then I'm actually going to start off because we talked about, I mentioned, I'm like, I think the first sentence of the next chapter tells us what happens to Daemu. And it sure does. It's like, Daemu survived. And in the annotations, he's like, yeah, Daemu lives. He would have died, except for a promise I made. Daemu was named from my roommate, or former roommate, Micah Daemu. And I always thought his name was cool and wanted to use it, but he said I could only use it if I promised him two things, that his character had to get a girl eventually, and that his character had to survive to the end. So Daemu couldn't die here. He's protected by a magic shield known as the author's promise to his pal. Yeah, okay. That was kind of spoilery, but I like the line so much about like the magic shield known as the author's promise that I was like, okay, I gotta touch on this.
Daemu's the hero of ages. There we go.
Yep, you figured it out.
Hooks up with
Orion.
The only girls at the moment are Vin and Orion, so like, go ahead and flip that coin.
Hey, there's is it Beldry?
Beldry, yeah. See?
Oh, right.
Maybe he gets her. You never know.
we might meet lots of girls at Fadrex City. Spook would be sad for like 5 minutes, and then he'd find another girl. It's fine. Okay. So Daemu was part of the group that got sick and did not die. And they're carrying everybody on canal boats and things down the canal towards Fadrex City for the siege. And Vin's sitting here and she's thinking, like, all this stuff. Like, how am I supposed to do anything about all this crazy shit?
Yeah, deep thoughts, Vin. Deep thoughts.
And thoughts about the deepness. So, deepness thoughts.
That should be like a segment on like a hypnotism show where they make you relax. It's like deepness thoughts.
And I like, she still thinks of herself as the hero of ages. She's like, man, me and Elendi's stories are so similar. It's like, I let this thing out, so, but the thing was
let it out, all right.
The thing was behind the prophecies in the first place, so, the question at that point is like, is there even really a hero of ages? We know that the epigraph writer at the very beginning was like, I'm the hero of ages, so I guess that makes us think that yes, there really is one. But from her perspective, I feel like I'd be like, it's just all made up, right?
Makes you question, or it makes, I guess, these characters question everything they actually know or think they know about their world, because it's so easy for everything to have been manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
And so all this time they've gone, yep, this must be true. It's factual. The terrace people have recorded it. And it's like, actually, no, this ruin managed to get a hand on everything and has played us like a fiddle.
Yeah. And we get to that. We'll get there later. But that other epigraph is it's like even our greatest victory was Ruin manipulating everything. So it's kind of sad.
Mm.
But she has one thought where she's like, hey, but Ruin's not omnipotent. It wouldn't have had to trick me if it was. So I guess that's good. I mean, something put Ruin in the well in the first place. So clearly there must be something that can, stand up to him.
Construction. What? No, never mind.
You just got to build a well around him, and it's all good.
Snorkel.
What's the opposite of ruining something? Building it back up. Construction workers.
I see where you're going. Okay.
Yeah. I had to explain it. That's how you know it's not funny.
Yeah. It's okay, Dak. I've done quite a few of those.
Vin's trying to figure out how to do any of this stuff, and she's like, it's a puzzle. There's always another secret. We haven't said that in a while, but there it is.
True, actually. When was the last time we saw that? Was that even in the second book?
Might not have been. I don't recall.
We said it a bunch during the podcast in the second book, but I don't know that it was in
I remember
the book.
we said it a bunch in the first book. I didn't remember if by the second book we'd gotten away from it.
Yeah, I thought we might have just let it go in the second book. No.
Whatever. Hey, everyone who listened to all those episodes, if you remember, you can let us know.
Write in and tell us how many times we used that phrase.
Take a shot every time we say that phrase.
Oh, wow. That'd be like a 40-hour drinking game.
And it's only going to get longer.
There's your weekend.
Yeah, okay. She's like, I'm going to start out, I'm going to plan, and I'm going to do it like Kelsier planned. Because Kelsier, he's the best at everything, right? So we're going to lay out, what do we know? And she doesn't know all that much. It's like, Ruin's a real thing. It can change the world even when it was trapped, and now it's free. And Vin assumed it was behind the violent mists killing and the falling ash, but she doesn't actually know that stuff even. And then we had a conversation with Elend about the first rule of allomancy, consequences, which also the first lesson Kelsier taught her, so I guess we see her. That's the only allomancy teacher she's ever known, so she just probably does what Kelsier did. There's a little note in the annotations here about Elend's white uniform, and he says he gets questions a lot about, like, how is it possible to keep clothing white in this, in the Final Empire with the ash falling all the time. And basically, he says, if you saw Elend's uniform, you probably would not call it white. You would probably call it, like, a light gray. But compared to the world around it, it is extremely white. And everything's, everything's relative, so.
I mean, does the ash have any metallic properties? He could, like, now that he's a Mistborn, he could just be pushing it away all the time.
Ooh, that's true. I think there is some iron in the ash, actually.
Yeah.
I think they could use that to push the ash away instead of sweeping it up all the time.
Maybe there's not enough. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess it's really only coin shots that could do that, or lurchers.
Or Mistborn, like Elend. So.
Or Mistborn. It's like they don't really... they definitely don't have a lot of Mistborn in their army.
No, not so much. I don't know that they have any... Like, the whole last book, we didn't see, like, any other Allomancers who were working for Elend, except for the crew. So he may not have any more. He's got Vin, and Vin's awesome. But, and Ham and Breeze and such. But
yeah, they've got like 4 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sham and Japheth.
For some reason, I thought you said Shan, like Shan Alarial, and I was like, no.
Shan's back.
No, she got stabbed.
No, she survived.
Yeah.
Zombie Mistborn.
Zombie Mistborn.
Isn't that just an Inquisitor?
And right, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, they just shoved some spikes in her and she came back or something. That'd be creepy.
Yeah.
Imagine that. We get to like the end of the book and Vin's facing off against an Inquisitor and it's like, oh my gosh, it's Shan. Didn't expect that.
She's like, she got the whole Lady Deathstrike claws coming out of her fingertips. It's like my new manicures.
That could be fun. Now
I'm
I'm pulling for this.
Today.
I don't know that we've seen any girl Inquisitors.
Look out the window. Oh, there's a tumbleweed rolling by.
Sorry, I was stuck on the fact that you said manicures, like plural. And I was
all of them. They're so big. She needs separate manicure for each nail.
Well, it's like that. Those would be her Inquisitor spikes. No, okay. I've really got to shut the hell up.
Sorry, honey.
That's okay.
But we have Elend is concerned because he's starting to kind of relate to the Lord Ruler. He's like, no, I get why he did some of the stuff that he did. And Vin's trying to, soothe him some, and not Allomancy soothe him, just normal. And be like, hey, look, it's not, you're not like the Lord Ruler. And then we have an interesting discussion about snapping. And I don't think that we knew this, but apparently noble children, just at some point, their families took them out and beat the shit out of them until they were almost dead. And sometimes they did die in order to get Allomancy if it was in there.
That never happened to you?
No.
Which is actually awful, but completely makes sense. Like for these houses,
Yep.
They want to have Mistborn, they want to have Allomancers. If they have a perfect cushioned life and never face any trauma, then their abilities don't come out. And I think I'm sort of amazed that we never really thought about it before. It's like, oh, wow, all of these people must have been through something really traumatic, which they must have. But to think that it's caused by their own families to see if they actually have the abilities is just terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a weird thing to think that, these important nobles sitting around in their, like, rich people outfits, and then just one day it's like, okay, drag him out back and beat him.
But also it's like, all right, how do they tell when it's succeeded? Do they have them down a vial of metal and just see if, like, a reaction comes out of the kid while they're beating the shit out of him, or?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's, like, a professional squad of beaters that you hire out, and they come to your house, and they're like, oh, we know just how to beat them enough until they're almost dead, but not quite. We're experts at this.
Was it like every
Seekers,
house?
Beaters, Harry Potter. I mean, come on.
I guess, yeah. Do they just have someone burning bronze just sitting in the corner, just going, "Oh, I felt something."
Maybe.
Yeah, professional beater. That was my nickname in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Were you the doorman for a nightclub?
No,
I'm talking about masturbation, bro.
That's where he was going. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
just
You are on fire today, Tom.
skating past. Oh. And we find out that Elend stopped the beatings, and Vin's like, you're a good guy. You stopped them. And he was like, and I was wrong. We need Allomancers. Like, what if we could have gotten more Allomancers by beating some kids? It could have saved everyone.
What if I could have beat some kids? It's like Schindler's List at the end. He's like, this ring, it could have got one more. He's like, one beating, it could have got one more.
Yep. Elend and Schindler, right there on the same page.
I knew I should have just gone and punched a child in the face. Like, what's happening right now?
Maybe you could just scare the crap out of them instead of beating them. Maybe there's a different way.
Well, we know that Marsh and Kelsier both had emotional horrible things happen, where Marsh says he snapped after he saw his mother killed by the obligators, and Kelsier snapped after seeing his wife beaten to death. So you could just emotionally scar the kids and pretend you're murdering their parents or something. I don't know.
I mean, maybe I like the scaring the crap out of them idea. Just let's do it Monsters Incorporated style. What monsters do we have? Inquisitors, hide in the closet.
Are they afraid of socks too?
Have you ever seen an Inquisitor wearing socks? I mean, come on.
This could be the key to solving their Inquisitor issues.
Socks.
I'm serious,
Yeah,
guys.
just put socks over their spikes. I'm not scared anymore. Ruin hates the fill of woolen socks.
Well, maybe they get the socks and they look at Ruin and just go, we are free now. It's like the house elves.
I'm a free Inquisitor.
I'm a free Inquisitor. Now I can go kill to my heart's content.
Ruin would be pissed.
Guys, we made it worse.
Yeah, maybe this was a bad idea after all. But wow, Elend's conclusion is he's like, I can hold the throne only because I know at one point I was willing to give it up in the name of what was right. If I lose that, Vin, I need you to tell me.
And by tell me, I mean kill me with the mist.
It feels very I don't know. Did you guys ever read any of the Avatar: The Last Airbender comics?
No, I haven't. Heard they weren't great.
Oh, they're decent, but maybe the very first comic set, it's called The Promise, and Zuko makes Aang promise if he ever ends up being like his dad, that Aang will kill him. And then, of course, almost immediately, they get into a thing where he's like, oh no, I might have to kill Zuko now. But that's what it reminds me.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then Norden shows up. We were just talking about Norden. Good guy Norden. The smiling obligator.
That's like his stage name, the Smiling Obligator. He does like a tap dance.
Well, just Vin is thinking. She's like, man, I used to think a happy obligator was a bad sign. And there's actually, if you go back to the first book we read, there's a line where Vin's like, a happy obligator is a bad sign or something like that. Yeah, it's just a callback. And this is where we find the very strange number thing that comes up. We find out that of the people who had not been exposed to the mists before, and counting the people who died, exactly 16% of people fell victim to mist sickness, as they're calling it. And not just this time, but every recorded time, it's exactly 16%, as long as there's a multiple of 25 or whatever it is that's required to be able to get that exact percentage.
Yeah, which is crazy. But I also wanted to back up for a second because if we talked about it, I totally missed it. But when Vin is kind of reading through the diary and she's thinking through some things about how like Ruin has to have rules, basically, and like he has to abide by certain things, I feel like that kind of supported my Ruin preservation yin yang thing. Like for every action, there's a consequence. It's like they have to push and pull against each other. So I thought,
to be between them.
Right, exactly. There's got to be a balance between them in order for them to both operate. So I was just kind of thinking about that when she was reading through that and talking about consequences and what Kelsier taught her and all that stuff. But then, yeah, this made me think the same thing, which is why I brought it up. It's like if it's the specific number, it's following some rule. Like there's something behind how the mist works that has to be following some kind of guide. Some kind of, because it's for it to be exactly 16% every time, that's obviously not a coincidence. So there's got to be something behind why it's limited in that way, or why it maybe the word is not limited, maybe why it's that effective, whichever way you want to think about it.
Yeah, I guess either way is kind of the same, just from different directions. It does seem like there has to be a reason here, and it's almost like it's bearing out, and that's what Vin thinks at the end of the chapter. She's like, Elend's like, I don't understand what this could possibly mean. And Vin is like, it means that there are laws. There's something governing this. We just don't understand it.
If they send out 100 people, if it's always going to be 16%, it doesn't matter which 100 people they send. Like it's not picking on the weakest, and it's not picking on the elderly, and it's just it's a numbers thing, which is the scary part, because it's like you could send 100 of your best warriors out, and that 16 of them will go or fall ill.
Yeah.
But then you could send 100 of a completely mix of people, and you could still lose the same number of warriors.
Yeah.
Well, that was the weird thing, because don't they say that it actually does skew towards the elderly? So like if there are a certain amount of elderly in that percentage, it is more likely that those elderly people will be in the 16%.
No.
Was it more likely that they would die?
Yeah.
Of the 16%, the people that would die were the elderly?
No, that
could it be thicker?
It was definitely that, like, it's still a random. It's still like 16% exactly get mist sickness, but of the people who get mist sickness, the more elderly are more likely to be dead.
Oh, to be the dead ones, and that didn't have anything to do with the 16%. It's 16% get sick. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. There's not a specific percentage of those 16% that die.
Not that we know of, anyway. No.
Right.
And he's like, we were paying so much attention to how many died, we didn't notice how unnatural the percentages of people sick were. Because, I guess the people who get sick and then better is not your biggest concern. So that wasn't the number they were paying the most attention to. Well, and to Joe's point that he was making, which we didn't talk about when we were there, but it's like, we know that from what Tensoon says, that there's a ruin and there's a preservation. And he even says that to Vin once. He's like, we're a preservation, you're a ruin. But I don't know that she's internalized that, because she's like, ruin is out there. We've got to, in some way, try to stop this. And you'd think if she knew there was another force, another big capital letter force out there that maybe could be on their side and fight against ruin, that she would be interested in that.
But I think even at the time when that happened, I was like, she just kind of skips right over that. She didn't pay attention to what he says. So obviously, I don't know that it sunk in almost at all.
Yeah. She had other things on her mind. It's a shame Tensoon is not here to explain these things.
Yeah, she had other things on her mind. She had 2 boys that wanted her, and she couldn't pick between them, even though one was clearly a terrible choice.
Oh, goodness. Oh, Zane. What a guy. We love him so much. That's not true. That was a lie.
You said that with a straight face.
Right. Our next epigraph is about the beads of metal, Lauracium, if you will recall. I mentioned it was called, that made men into Mistborns. And it talks about how the original 9 Allomancers, there's some fun information, there were 9 of them originally, all had this sort of allomantic strength that 1,000 years later, everyone's like, oh my gosh, the Lord Ruler's like the most powerful Allomancer. He's so much more powerful than us. But they all started out that powerful. He's just the only one who managed to live this long. And of course now Elend gets that same level of power.
The 10th Allomancer.
The 10th. That does seem dramatic.
Well, I mean, it was a whole, the whole thing about the 10th metal.
Yeah.
1 Allomancer to rule them all.
I was just having the same sort of thought.
Yeah. As soon as I said the 9 Allomancers, I'm just like, the 9?
The 9.
Yeah. There's a couple ways you could go with that. The 9 men, the ring wraiths, or you could say Knights of the 9 from Oblivion, if you're an Elder Scrolls fan.
I'm not.
Yep.
I don't know who that is. Are there only 9 of them at any given time?
It's been a long time since I played Oblivion. I actually don't remember.
Okay.
Waiting for that remaster.
Okay.
Yeah, that and Morrowind. If they did a remaster of both those, that'd be pretty sweet.
Well, they did Morrowind.
Did they?
Uh-oh.
I thought
We gotta look.
I just remember the original one being terrible. Now they did you might be thinking of the Morrowind expansion they did to Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, maybe.
Because that's the last Morrowind thing I saw that came out.
Let's see.
Elder Scrolls Online, not to alienate any listeners if you do like it, I don't think it's very good.
Bethesda doesn't want a Morrowind remaster, prefers to play it through backwards compatibility.
It's almost unplayable at this point.
Morrowind Remaster Skywind receives a new gameplay demo. So there is a remaster called Skywind. I don't know if that's an official one or if it's like a fan one.
Yeah, that sounds like a fan-based modded
sounds like
one.
it'll be a fan made.
Yeah. Well, because now the thing is with Skyrim, sorry, we're getting off on a tangent here. The thing with Skyrim is like there are so many people that have modded the game, and now they've put mods in the console versions as well, that you can just get a graphics booster mod from the console mod list and just play it at a much prettier resolution. Even when they did commercials for the game to show you what the remastered version of Skyrim looked like, they actually had a mod on. It said so like at the bottom of the commercial. It's like this is using, some graphics mod.
Okay, that is funny. Now I gotta look at
That's your Elder Scrolls portion of the Sanderlanche podcast.
So, Say's just still in the pits of Hathsin, and he's hanging out with the Terrace Elders, sitting around. And last time we were like, is he king or something? It seems like they kind of want him to be, and he doesn't particularly want to be.
Yeah, boy, this is depressing.
Yep.
But you know what they say, it's like the greatest leaders in history were ones that were thrust into leadership and didn't want it,
Yeah. And Say's, apparently last time he was here, he gave them some instructions. Keep your records in metal. I don't know why Ruin would want to go around changing like the Terracemen's records on how much of whatever they have.
Right, how many beans they have. It's like, we grew 100,000 beans this year. It's like, you grew 110,000 beans.
But he's also ordered them to make a bunch of extra latrines they don't need. And Say's is like, hey, I want you to be able to take care of a bunch of refugees if they suddenly show up.
Anyone who's ever been to a music festival or a sporting match or anything like that will know you can never have too many toilets.
You're not wrong. Well, except for us when it's like the water stopped going, and so people are like, you should get snow and use it in your toilets to turn into new water so you can flush your toilets. That was a whole.
That was fun when I had to boil snow to get it to be water so that I could flush my toilet because we didn't have water.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Fun times.
Super fun. If you guys are not aware, we're recording this right after the winter storm in Texas that was not great.
Yeah, lots of stuff happened. We won't.
Well, we won't get into the meat of it, but let's just say I'm glad that it's over.
Yes, we're finally above freezing. Snow's going away. We can drive again. It's all good.
You can flush your toilet without snow.
Yep. Assuming that when everything melts, like, you don't have a burst pipe because something froze. But, you know.
Oh, God.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Oh, good times. Anyway, so Sazed is like, hey, look, I'm not trying to give you commands. I'm not saying I have any authority here. I'm just making suggestions. And they're like, please stay and be our king. Can you please? He's like, no, I gotta
command.
I gotta bounce, y'all. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He's like every guy after a one night stand. He's just like, I gotta go.
I got a thing. I gotta be at.
Appreciate the breakfast, but I'm out.
He's walking there. It's like, man, you're all stage 5 clingers.
But they're like, hey, look, we don't need food. We don't need land. We've got plenty of everything. What we need is a leader. And Sazed is like, no, we don't need like another tyrant king type of thing going on. We had that for too long. And they're like, no, not a tyrant, one of our own. And he's like, the Lord Ruler was one of our own. And they're all like, oh, right. Sad.
Whoops.
No one wants to remember that. And somebody notices that he's not wearing his copper mines and calls him out. It's like, during the Lord Ruler's time, you like always worked so hard to like wear these things in secret and do all this dangerous stuff. And now that you can do whatever you want, you pack them away.
He's like, look, guys, I'm complex, okay?
I'm a complex man. I don't know what to tell you.
I got some shit to sort out.
He's like, look, the Synod cast me out. The last time I left Tathwington, which was the Terrace capital, if you recall, I did so in disgrace. The common people cursed me in the quiet of their homes. He's like, well, now they bless you, Master Sazed.
Yeah, he's like, that was then and this is now. Be our leader already.
Yeah.
Come on, we've apologized.
Right? I feel like we're really glossing over something there where he's like, yeah, all you people cursed me. And they're like, well, but now everybody else is dead. So you got to do us a solid.
Yeah, the Terracemen are really hot and cold here. They're like, but now we love you.
Yeah. Our new title for you is Master Better Than Nothing.
Yeah. They're like, dude, you got a bright nose. You can lead us through the fog. Come on.
They totally are.
Yeah, no, you're not right. And they're like, but you're all we have left. And he's like, then we are a sorrier people than we may appear. Which that was sad.
Yeah. They're not even like, you're our silver medal. They're like, you're our like 9th place, but you're what we've got.
Dak's default chant from the last episode. Oh, worst taste. But we do find out one fun fact here, that the mists apparently are not hurting the Terrace people. They're like, oh, what? The mists don't hurt people. That's foolish ska tales.
Yeah, interesting.
And so then they're like, hey, please stay. And he's like, I'm sorry. This is how it's got to be. And he's gonna take off. He's got important ambassador business to be about. Okay.
It's not you, it's me.
And then we get the bit about the 11th metal. And it's like, Kelsier found these myths about the 11th metal out there somewhere, and nobody knew where, but nobody knew what he was doing after he escaped the pits of Hathsin. Hey, we know he was hanging out with Gemmel.
Yeah, in that short story, he found like the little journal thing in that guy's house, didn't he?
Yep, he sure did.
Meanwhile, that guy is just like, I never kept a diary. What the fuck is this? Because it was all ruin.
Yeah. Gemmel led him there for something very important, and if you'll recall, what happened was Gemmel pulled out, like, he's like, this is a fork or a spoon.
Yeah, he's like, this is the best fork. I think it was a spoon. He's like, this is the best spoon I've ever seen. It's like God's spoon. This is mine.
But there's also, and I don't know how much you guys remember about the 11th metal, but there were some strange things going on with Gemmel. He was insane. But there's one scene where Gemmel's like, it says, no, Gemmel muttered, no, I like him. He almost never complains. The other 3 complained all the time.
Ooh.
Oh,
ruin.
fuck.
So,
or could it be the other force, preservation? Nah, I doubt it. It's probably ruin.
Do we know if Gemmel had a spike through him at some point?
I mean, yeah, you know, there's the question. We thought Gemmel was just some crazy dude, but maybe there was some more going on there. We also thought Zane was some crazy dude, but...
Well, in fairness, even Zane thought Zane was some crazy dude.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah, Gemmel might have thought he was crazy too, but who knows?
There's a thing from some signing or something where somebody asked Brandon, hey, did Zane ever meet Gemmel? And Brandon's like, yes. I'm not saying that anything, important or interesting happened, but they did meet. And it's just like the most random little, like, here's a fun fact.
Gemmel tried to pick Zane's pocket. Zane tried to smash Gemmel's face. It was the start of a little buddy cop adventure.
They became best friends forever.
Yeah, an unlikely pair in a sitcom.
We already got 2 shows based on this.
That's
we
true.
Got the Venture Brothers.
No, we got the crossover. It's a crossover show.
It'll be like you've got the Venture Brothers show with Elend and Zane, and then one day Gemmel walks in. It's like the guest star from the previous series.
Yeah.
It's like when on Smallville because one of the Dukes of Hazzard was Clark Kent's dad, and then like on one episode the other Duke of Hazzard showed up.
That's awesome, actually.
Are you caught up with WandaVision, Deck?
Yes.
All right,
Sure
spoiler, not today's episode, but spoiler alert. You can cut this out, data, if you want. It's like when Pietro shows up, and it's like the wrong Pietro. You're just like, what?
Well, wait a minute, man.
Yeah, that was crazy. I wish I hadn't had it spoiled for me before it came on.
Oh, somebody spoiled it. What a jerk.
Oh man.
Well, because
I know it was
something
all
had
over the
leaked.
internet,
Yeah,
but-
it was all over the internet, and I ended up like running across a picture of it or something, and I was just like, oh.
Oh, that's
I did see a picture of it. It's like rumors that he will be in WandaVision. I just went, no. They've already got a Quicksilver. Whoops.
wrong.
Well, and then I watched today's episode, and it's just a whole nother level.
Well,
of stuff
I haven't
going
seen it yet.
Okay, yeah, we won't do anything.
Well, wait a minute, man.
Anyway, so we got Spook flashback, where he's out on the edge of the Final Empire in whatever town.
What a
he used to be
flashback.
It says he's basically just like drifting in and out of consciousness and having this hallucination.
Yeah.
Right. Which, like I said, yes, sad story, but, at least he didn't get his throat cut after begging for money in front of a noble's house like some ska.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Also, like, this is him flashing back. He's in a traumatic position as it is because he's passing out, and he's flashing back to another traumatic situation. So it could be his mind is making this look a lot worse than it actually was.
It's possible. As a kid, this would look really bad to you. So.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a nice experience anyway.
No.
Usually when your dad is standing on your throat, it's not really a positive day. That's
how they protect us from crocodiles down here. Don't do any of that.
By standing on our throats.
Yeah, stops you from running around.
Jamie's put that out of her mind. She doesn't remember the standing on the throat.
Yeah, she repressed the yeah, exactly. She's like, stay away from that croc, Jamie. Hold on, let me stand on your neck. It's like, wait, what?
I mean, we do some weird shit down here, but that's probably not one of them.
There's a very long annotation for this section, and I won't read all of it, but there's a few bits that are fun. It starts out, fever delusions are such a useful thing for authors. Every character should go through a few of them so that we have an opportunity to explore their backstory through a timely flashback.
I don't know about that.
Then he continues by saying, I actually like to avoid flashbacks when I can. They're usually more of a hassle than they are useful. But now and then they can add something.
Yeah, this whole flashback thing is just rockadoodle, Like that, it's like a fever dream. It made me, like, I remember watching Rockadoodle when I was little and I had a fever, and it made it like 10 times worse.
I remember Rockadoodle. We had that on VHS, and I watched it like a million times. Fun. He says, though I rarely mention it, the borderlands of the Empire include a large population of rogue ska who are constantly causing trouble, despite what people in the rest of the Empire believe. And there are, in fact, some successful uprisings, most notably these clans who stuck to the desert wastes out on the edges of habitable land. And then he adds, as a side note to this side note, the planet this takes place on is barren and virtually uninhabitable, save for the poles, a situation caused by close proximity to the sun. The final empire is at the North Pole. What's at the South Pole? I wonder.
Interesting. Aliens.
I did wonder if that was a question that would occur to you guys when I was like, oh, by the way, this takes place at the North Pole because it's one of the only places cool enough for people to live.
But us, we're just blindly thumbing through the book like, what happens next? I don't know.
Honestly, when you mentioned that, like, and we said, oh, what's the rest of the planet like? And you said it's like this boiling ocean. It's like, oh, so it's Waterworld on hard mode. Kevin Costner's going to show up and be like, oh, not this guy again.
Yeah, Kevin Costner just pops in every once in a while. It's all good.
Oh, what was Kevin Costner as the informant from the first book? Was it Hoyd?
Boyd. That would be funny if just Kevin Costner shows up as a homeless guy or whatever, like all ripped up.
For one scene.
For one scene, exactly. He also mentions that Clubs pays a bunch of money in this bag of money he pays for Spook, which we'll get to in a second. But actually, he paid like 20 times that much in just traveling out here after he heard about what was happening in order to save Spook. So,
Clubs is not a super poor guy. He's got money.
Yeah. But Ska are forbidden to travel generally, so it's actually expensive to like go through these underground, not literally underground, but underground ways of moving around the Final Empire.
But wasn't he, because he was quite talented, he was kind of elevated a little bit?
I think so, but at this point
have a shop.
I was about to say, at this point it sounds like he may still be in the military.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
He might not have set the shop up yet.
So it actually mentions this in the annotations also. He says at this point Clubs had been discharged. It talks about before this how he fought in the Lord Ruler's army and got hurt or whatever. It says at this point he had been discharged, an event that left him without a means of supporting himself. However, during his time fighting, he snapped and became a smoker. So he found his way into the underground where he was paid very nicely for his abilities. So
with the burn.
We know that Ham has said that you can make a lot of money as misting.
People
in the
need
Ska
smokers.
So.
Yeah, I was gonna say the probably the most interesting thing about this portion of the flashback kind of points light at one of my theories where they said like Spook went out in the mists and then he became a misting. Like they know he's a misting now, and they're like, we told him not to go out in the mists, and he went out in the mists, and now he's a monster. So what about the mist snapped him? But that's maybe what my thinking is. Maybe the mist can actually snap people.
Well, I mean, at the time that he says it here, it's more like an excuse to be like, yeah, we should kill him, and here's just another reason that we can come up with. But maybe
but they're afraid of the mist for a reason, right? The people, they say that you not only, and of course this is carried out through generations. Not only are they saying we're afraid of the mist because of whatever, it killed crops and stuff, but obviously it killed people back in the day, or it messed them up. And if they think that just because he's a misting, now he's a mist wraith because he's got this power, like obviously that's something they've correlated that somehow in their minds. So I don't know, just a thought I had.
Everyone was scared in the first book that if you go out, a mist wraith will eat you and steal your face. So
right, because maybe they thought like when you came back and you had mist powers, maybe they thought that it wasn't you anymore. Yeah, that like it was a mist wraith that had a power that stole your body. Which now I'm just doing this right now in my brain. I'm connecting the dots even further. We know that each Kandra is given a blessing of some kind, which I assume correlates to some kind of maybe mist power, potency, whatever. Maybe it's tied in with the Kandra. It's like, oh well, these people didn't have allomancy before, and then they showed up, and this Kandra creature that is not really a person all of a sudden has this thing it can do, and maybe they caught one that it wasn't human, it was a Kandra. Maybe that's how they're connecting it as well. It's like, oh, if you've got this power, you're clearly a creature, not a person. But
well, I mean, we know that according to Tensoon, at least from the last book, that Kandra can't use allomancy exactly because that was how they were going to figure out who the Kandra was.
Right, but they've got some kind of blessing, whatever that means. It allows them to do something extra, like the blessing of presence. It makes it sound like Tensoon can go forever without sleeping or something.
Yeah, I think we know presence and potency, and we know maybe one more. I forget if there was another one.
Yeah, I think they mentioned one other one, but I can't remember what it was.
So there's something going on there. We haven't met and interacted with enough Kandra to really understand, I think. All right, but these guys are getting into a discussion about what to do with Spook, and it's like, oh, we got to turn him in. And he's like, wasn't aware of what? And the dude's like,
I was like, oh, no.
Why did you let him run around with the street gangs? Damn boy is barely coherent now. Which is, I was like, yep, there you go. This guy agrees with everything we've been saying.
I just want to throw out there, like going back to what we were saying about, how did he snap out in the mist? I just kind of assumed he picked a fight with a immature mist wraith, kind of like fighting a raccoon. He was like trying to steal his meal.
Oh yeah. Are you sure it wasn't like a possum?
Oh no, not that fucking possum again.
Yeah, exactly.
Mist Wraith with some possum bones.
Yeah. He's like, Daddy, I'm gonna go out there and pick a fight with a Mist Wraith. He's like, son, you better not.
You don't do that. Wasn't with the fight with the possum on the roof.
He's like, talk English, dang it. Or French or whatever we speak.
One of the other guys is like, wait a second, if we turn him in, I've seen what happens. They'll come searching for more. And somebody else is like, yeah, problems like his run in families, they do. It's like, okay, yep, we're going to have to kill him. And the large man is what he's called repeatedly, but we find out in a bit that he's Spook's dad. It's like, I guess I'll just step on his neck even harder. And Spook's like, Father, you're not my son. My son went out in the mist and never came back. You must be a Mist Wraith. As an excuse so that I don't feel as bad about crushing your windpipe.
You some sort of monster.
And then there's a bag of coins. And dude's like, the coins in exchange for the boy. Now.
I was gonna say, is that how Clubs talks now?
Clubs is Sling Blade for some reason now, yeah.
Yeah. Give me the boy.
And like Spook's dad's like, hey, where'd you get that much money? And Clubs is like, none of your business is where. And Spook's father's apparently gonna, like, his Clubs is like, if you don't give him to me, I'll just tell the obligators anyway, unless you want to try to kill me. And Spook's father, it looks like maybe he's gonna take that on, which is stupid because Clubs is, a soldier, but whatever. And Spook's mom's like, no, he'll kill you.
Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
What's that from? Sounds like Venture Brothers.
I don't know. It was some blaxploitation movie from the 80s, I think.
Oh no! Why do you keep the shit tickets in this town?
Sorry, I'm reading. Not actually. I want to hold on.
What are you reading?
Your $5. I'm searching for this.
You're trying to find that?
I want to know. Here we go. This is New Jack City.
New Jack City.
Oh, that's Wesley Snipes.
What's it?
Apparently.
Yep.
I
He's the
remember
one who
nothing else
gives
about
that
that movie
line.
aside from that one line.
Yeah. Well, it's like Demolition Man. It's it's not good, but it's funny.
Dude, Demolition Man's awesome. Hilarious movie.
That was like Sandra Bullock's breakout role, right?
Was it?
I don't
I
know.
think so, yeah.
If you say so, I will believe you. She's pretty good in that. Not as good as
Sly or Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes. Well,
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone's always playing Sylvester Stallone. He's one of those guys, so
Yeah.
I'm not ever that impressed. But
Right.
Wesley Snipes is pretty good. Anyway,
Enough of that.
that Wesley Snipes sidetrack that we took for $5 ass
Yeah.
news.
Is he he pay his
all the side
taxes?
bits.
Is he done with his arrest?
I don't know.
I guess he didn't make change.
I mean, I think he was
Stop.
kind of insane toward the end anyway. Like, there's the stories about on the set of Blade 3 where he's
Oh
like
god, yeah. He only communicated in post-it notes.
with the
Oh,
director.
wow.
Yeah, he would
Wow.
only communicate, and everyone had to call him Blade.
Blade.
It's a
Imagine
whole.
pulling that
That's
kind
method
of
acting.
stuff. Imagine pulling that kind of stuff in your own workplace. Like, at the end of the day, this is their job.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine if you just went to work and was like, I'm only communicating with my boss through post-it notes now?
Oh. Yeah.
I would be fired.
Okay, so he's in Coming to America, the second one that's coming out as
That's right.
as the bad guy. So I guess he must be out. Also,
Did he realize they were making a movie, or did they just follow him around with a camera?
I had no idea about this, but as I was looking through his credits to see if he'd done anything recently, he is on Blade and Blade 2 as the choreographer. So there's that.
Like,
Yeah.
guess like the fighting choreographer, like he was a stuntman maybe, and he knows
I
how
don't
to
know.
do that stuff. I bet you that's what
No,
it is.
you
I bet
know,
it's
you know
fight
that nightclub
choreography.
scene at the start of the first
Yeah,
Blade?
he choreographed the rave, the blood rave.
Also, he's in a Michael Jackson music video directed by Martin Scorsese.
Sure.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. The music video for Bad. It says he plays Minimax, and that it was directed by Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese.
I mean, why not?
Easy.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Jackson did the music for Sonic 2, uncredited.
Yeah, Michael Jackson was just into weird stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
Wesley Snipes isn't?
in terms of like filmmaking and whatnot. He lobbied to play both Spider-Man and Professor X.
He did. I read about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Man, Michael Jackson's Professor X. What would have happened?
Oh, apparently he got out in 2013 from his tax.
Okay. So it's been a long time since he's done.
He's good.
He's all good now. Uncle Sam is like, okay, you paid it up.
Oh, apparently his apartment was completely destroyed by the collapse of the World Trade Center towers.
Wow,
he was on the West Coast at the time. So
that really sucks.
Okay, sorry. Random Wesley Snipes facts. I don't know.
Yeah, we're going down a lot of tangents this week, but it's all news that you need to know.
Not all of them may make it into the show. We'll see.
Nah, it's all in. It's gold.
So anyway, Spook's name is actually slang for unwanted child.
Yeah,
abandoned.
So that's the end of the chapter.
If anything would make me like him less, that's like definitely in the top 5.
So is Lestibournes street slang for I've been abandoned? So is it just meant to be like a corruption of the phrase left behind?
Well, it says, let's see, lefting I'm born. So it sounds to me like leaving the place I'm born, but no, apparently it's I've been abandoned. So
maybe lefting I'm born means like they left me when I was born or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're sitting here trying to make sense of his street slang. It doesn't make sense.
I just want to know what his actual name was then. If that's what the name he's given himself.
Yeah.
Well,
what's his real name?
Maybe we'll find out, and then I still won't care.
But it's like this actually makes it really funny because he's like, yes, I've put a lot of thought into this name. It sums up my whole traumatic backstory. Meets Kelsia. That name's shit. You're Spook now.
Yep.
And fucking Kelsia understands the slang. He knew exactly what that meant.
Maybe that's
why he gave him a different name. He may have been like, hey, that's not a cool name for you to have. I'll give you a different one.
Yeah. Well, but it's not even like straight street slang, because lefting I'm born would be the street slang. So he takes that and he turns it into Lestibournes, which I feel like you would have to know what he was trying to say to get that translation.
Yeah, point.
But you make an interesting point, because we find out that his mom is the one who sent for her brother for clubs to come and take the boy. And she never mentioned the kid's name. And during the whole scene, like, the dad calls him boy. Even the mom calls him boy. The mom's like, he brought us coins. Surely that's better than killing the boy. So maybe he doesn't have a name. Maybe he's boy.
Maybe he's just boy.
Yeah. Or maybe, and again, Dak kind of touched on this, maybe he doesn't remember his original name because he was a kid. And since this is his brain and his flashback, he can't remember his name. So he just inserted boy.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It might be a really traumatic thing, so he's just like, no, I don't want to think about that. Well, that's the name given to me by the people who booted me out.
But yeah, that's a short chapter of Spook's origin story, which I know everyone was clamoring for the Spook origin story film. So here we got it.
But also, like, it's the origin story, but it also doesn't tell us shit. We don't find out how he snapped. So
no, I guess we don't. He's just running around out there with the kids. Somehow.
Now I just have to find a place in Spook Rap to rhyme lefting I'm born.
I wondered if that would affect the Spook
Rap. It'll go
sure.
Source.
Yeah, Mistborn, lefting I'm born. I think I rhymed Mistborn with Lestibourne, so I think we're covered.
Try and find some place to work in how he fought a possum.
Yeah, sure.
Until proven otherwise, I'm sure that's got to be it.
That's how he snapped, exactly.
It hissed at him. He got real scared. He snapped. Then he could smell the possum really strongly, and he was like, "This is gross. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get home." And then he came home, and his dad's like, "I'm gonna kill you."
It's like, oh, I can feel the rabies in my bloodstream as it bites me.
Rabies. I was gonna make you into a pie. Now I just want to go home.
But now we get to the epigraph where Aurian tells us that it was Ruin that was behind the 11th metal, fabricated this legend.
Did you say Aurian?
Aurian?
Oh, whoops. I meant the epigraph writer.
Yeah, you definitely said Aurian, and we do not believe that she's the epigraph writer. Don't even play.
So, bonfire? Bonfire.
I would never have a slip of the tongue that revealed the true identity of the epigraph writer.
Yeah, Aurian can't talk that well. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now.
It cannot be Aurian.
No,
there's
she
been
cannot
no mention
even...
of the color pink in these epigraphs, not her.
I doubt she can even read.
She has somebody else to do the reading for her.
Yeah, she dictated this whole thing.
Oh, gosh.
While she was sitting on some guy like a footstool.
So, but no, I mean, this, if this person is right, and this was all just a part of Ruin's plan, this is an extremely subtle plan to introduce the 11th metal, get it to Kelsier, the one guy who is going to actually accomplish what no one in 1,000 years has accomplished, and then it's not a metal, it's not like Duralumin, where it was like, if you burn Duralumin with iron, maybe you could have ripped those things out of his arms, out of the Lord Ruler's arms to kill him, like Vin eventually does. So it wasn't something, that you could shove coins through him really hard or whatever. It was the thing that revealed the truth about his past that let Vin figure out who he really was.
Yeah.
So it's a very, like, convoluted plan. If this was
this is a reach for sure. I don't think you're exactly right. Like, why wouldn't Ruin just teach him about Duralumin? Makes no sense.
Maybe Ruin is just that subtle. He knows what's going to happen somehow.
Well, maybe it has to do with the rules that Vin is saying that he has to follow. Maybe he can't directly affect things that much, especially if he was still trapped in the well.
It's like, he can't throw out the, too many hints, because that's not very 16% of you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not very 16%. But it says the Lord Ruler knew the truth about Ruin and would never have released him, so Ruin needed a way for the Lord Ruler to die. Even our greatest victory was shaped by Ruin's subtle fingers. So that is a little bit sad to be like, the one big victory we've had in this whole series so far has been when Vin took down the Lord Ruler. It's like, oh no, that was part of the big bad's plan. Fine, just take all the joy out of life. Alrian, what a jerk.
Sure, Alrian. I mean, Sazed, or whoever the writer is, it's Sazed. Maybe he's still on his depressed kick here. He's like, it was Ruin's plan. Even our greatest victory was shit, I just don't care about anything.
I can see how that would fit with Sazed.
I'm the hero of ages, I guess. Ugh.
What
that means.
What the beginning says is, I am unfortunately the hero of ages.
Yeah, he's like,
if it's Orianne, yes, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know that she would recognize that it's unfortunate though. So again, can't be Orianne.
Yeah, she doesn't have self-awareness.
No, not that kind of self-awareness anyway.
Okay, but this is the Tensoon chapter, and it's really, for the most part, a very introspective. Tensoon is sitting there and thinking about the bad stuff that's going to happen to him, and I wonder what Vin's doing now.
Sazed is sad. In this chapter, Tensoon is sad. In this chapter, Vin is sad. Everyone's sad, damn it.
But
in this chapter, Spook has a sad flashback.
It was a sad flashback.
In this chapter, Marsh is sad. He really needs to go to the bathroom.
His new spikes don't let him go.
Oh, there's a spike. That's bad.
No, he's just asking Ruin. It's like, can I please? No, we have more important stuff to do. Oh.
He's like, just pee in your robes. It doesn't matter. Oh, they'll be all sticky.
I wonder if those spikes can rust.
Well, I mean, if some of them are made of iron, maybe. The steel ones probably not as much. If they're stainless, I don't know. Whatever. Let's see. So Tensoon has the Blessing of Presence, so he's able to focus despite his uncomfortable confines, and guards show up. There's 5th generation guards, rather, with the Blessing of Potency. So, and he could not outrun Chandra, who had the Blessing of Potency, it says. So there's some solid information about what that does. And then,
so maybe that's how he kept up with Vin on the rooftops all the time. He had because they said he got the Blessing of Potency from Orser.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. If he was using that sometimes.
Yeah, so maybe he was using that to keep up with Vin on the rooftops and stuff.
That's a good thought.
But he doesn't have it anymore.
They said it wasn't on him when he came in.
Right.
He's hidden
and
it
so
somewhere.
I'm wondering,
he's going to go find it and take it back.
I'm wondering if they didn't think to check the animal body, like somehow he hid it in the bones of the wolf, the hound. So I don't know, but I mean that's just a guess.
But we do eventually get the guards coming up, and Varcel.
Oh, this asshole.
Yeah, and he's like,
great, we found the new Zane.
So orders of the 2nd generation, you're to wear these bones. They intend to break your bones as part of your punishment, and there's no need to waste perfectly good bones on that. So here, take these. And they are the dog bones that it's apparently, I guess, been a week since that conversation with Melon about how much he hated the dog bones. So
I would be so sad if I had to wear them again.
but we end this by with Sensun being like, now I have what I need to escape. So maybe Jamie was right last time. He's gonna break out of this prison they've got him in. He's not just gonna be in the cage the entire book. Sad. I was looking forward to day 3000 in my cage. But there's an interesting bit of annotation here that I wanted to hit on. Brandon says Tensun made a much better wolfhound than he did a person. He's been on lots of contracts, and his ability to form a body was actually second to none. During this book, he's probably the single most talented conjurer alive when it comes to manipulating his shape and creating believable human features, even if he doesn't have a model as a guide. He's faster than any other conjurer for sure. But when it came to acting a role and playing a part, he was about average. He didn't have Orsor's flair for imitation, where Orsor got so into the part that he began to think of himself as that person to an extent. Tensun, on the other hand, is more prone to letting his true biases and feelings come through. So
angry man.
Well, and we saw at the beginning, he really was kind of pissy with Vin.
Yeah. And then he learned how much he likes belly rubs.
Yep, belly rubs and minging old meat.
But it also says if life had not intervened, he would. And it talks about how the wolfhound body really fits him and gave him an opportunity to be himself. It even let him play on some of his natural wanderlust that is part of the reason he's always taking contracts. But it says if life hadn't intervened, he would have been perfectly content to spend the next century or so acting as a wolfhound guard and attendant to Vin and her children, assuming he didn't actually surrender completely to his wanderlust and just head out in the wilderness to be free from the politics and contracts. I'm not sure if he ever would have done it. His sense of duty and his sense of responsibility to his people was as strong as his desire to be free. Either way, it's a shame the world had to up and end on him. Things were finally, after 7 centuries of life, looking up for Tensun. So yeah, that's
damn.
Just when he got to be himself, he's going to be executed.
It's a real kick in the dog nets.
But yeah, it's interesting that he makes a better wolfhound than a person. It's kind of it let him be free finally. That's nice, I guess. And he's got the bones
like
back.
I don't have to talk to people. It's great.
Yeah, I've often thought I'd make a better dog than a person, but you know.
Oh yeah, I've had that thought.
Cat's much better. You just get to sleep all day, and people clean up after you, and you live longer than dogs.
I think it'd be great to be a dog. It's like 90% of people will just be happy by you showing up.
That's true.
You don't have to worry about getting your own food because people will just bring it to you.
I want to be a dog for like a week just to try it out.
Try it out.
Yeah,
great.
I really wish you remember that book series Animorphs. I would have just morphed into a dog for an hour at a time. I'd just be like, nah, I'm good.
I never actually read any of those, but I saw lots of them in the library.
Yeah. Well, some dude got stuck
series
as a hawk because he'd rather be a hawk than a person. And I'd be like, that'd be me. I'd get stuck as like a border collie just because I was having a good time.
Okay, so and our final epigraph is about the balance, which they touched on a little bit. Like Ham asked a question about it at some point, but we didn't get too deep into it. But apparently it was a big topic of discussion by philosophers in the 3rd and 4th centuries. The Lord Ruler actually, according to this, altered mankind to make them more capable of dealing with the ash, and at the same time did some other stuff. Noblemen were tall, stronger, smarter, and less fertile, and the Ska were shorter, hardier, and had lots of children.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a topic we discussed quite a bit in the first book because they bring it up a couple of times, and I think you kind of had asked us, especially at the beginning, like, what did we think these Ska people were? So the fact that the epigraph writer is postulating that there actually was a physical difference between them endowed in them by the Lord Ruler is kind of a weird thought, because I think throughout the whole thing we're like, no, they're the same. It's just their culture that has created a rift between them. Mm-hmm. But in all reality, it's, according to the epigraph writer, is like, no, there is a physical difference between these two. They're basically different. They've got different genetics. Yeah.
Or there
was. He basically tried to make the Ska into the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, kind of.
Right. But then the epigraph writer does go on to say it's like most of that, by the time the Lord Ruler died, most of that had already gone.
Yeah, the inbreeding has largely erased the differences.
Yeah.
Which, like, you think about how heavily he slammed the book on, if a child was found to be the product of a union between a Scar and a noble, like that child was killed, and so was the offending parents.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like back in the day when the physical differences were so much more pronounced, like it would have been a lot harder to hide that, like they're doing these days.
Right? So it makes you question, like, were the rules less strict back then, or
Yeah.
like how does this happen?
And it's also like, if they were less strict back then? Why are they so
Yeah.
strict now when it is harder to hide? Like, that's how we got here.
I mean, maybe the Lord Ruler started out trying to be nice and is like, hey, don't do this, and realized as time went on that you had to be really harsh or it was going to happen a lot.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
when the child beating started.
Yeah. There's 1,000 years of history here that we're just not privy to, and we're getting bits and pieces of interesting factoids.
Yeah.
Okay, and so our last chapter we read was 25. The boat shows up at Fadrex City, and it's I don't know how you picture it. It talks about like the city is on a terrace-like natural rock formation, and he says in the annotations that it's hard to get exactly the description across that he wants. Oh, also interestingly, the city was originally named Fadrex, Fadex. And he says, nobody, not my editor, my agent, or my writing group, liked that name. I added one letter, and suddenly it was okay. Go figure.
I'm going to agree with that. Fadex or Fadex? Or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's harder to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. The R really gives it some gusto. Otherwise, it's just like Fadrex. I can't do it.
Yeah. But he says that
it also kind of sounds like Fat X if you say it too fast.
Fat X.
And I feel like that's derogatory, even if you don't like your ex. So
now you just got me thinking of Red X from the Teen Titans cartoon show, but fat. I don't know why that's where my brain went, but that's where it went.
Yeah.
But anyway,
or for the My Hero Academia fans, Fat Gum.
Okay.
He's a great hero. He's super fat, and except when he takes like a bunch of damage, he can absorb it with his fat, and then he gets really skinny.
Is he like Fat Chance from the Venture Brothers?
I don't think I ever got to that far in the Venture Brothers.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Anyway, he says that the rock formations are like rock formations in Utah. That he says he spent a lot of time in southern Utah. There's lots of these kind of formations there, so it's easy for him to picture. It's harder for him to try to explain what it looks like. And he does say if you Google Cathedral Valley, you'll get an idea of what he thinks the area looks like. So that's what Fadrex looks like, in case anyone was interested. Ham notes that there used to be lots of trees growing up there, but they've been cut down and to create a better killing field and keep them from sneaking up. So Yeoman, who's in charge of the city, has prepared for this eventuality. And interestingly, they've arrived here by canal, but Ham says, I don't think that we're going to leave here by canal. There's so much ash that it has clogged the canals. So this is getting bad with the ash. They don't talk about it much, but probably because there's not really anything they can do about it, but it's not good.
Need to get like a giant metal shovel or something and just get all their coin shots behind it, pushing it so they can just...
It's just... I think it talked earlier about that they were using nets or something to like dredge the canals some to make them passable. That's what his army was doing when he came back from conquering that city. We note that the Fadrex City army or the people there have already been exposed to the mists. They can tell that much. So Elend's like, well, it was a good idea exposing our army too so that we're not weak there.
And also, if they do take the city, it's one less thing they have to worry about.
That's true. You don't have to worry about exposing all of them like you did the last city. That's a good point. Damu's still sick, and Elend's thinking we're spread thin. Spook and Breeze in the north, Penrod back at Luthadel, and Felt is watching the storage cache in the east. If you guys remember Felt, he's a fun guy.
Which one was Felt?
So Felt in the first book was like the leader of the spies that Elend borrowed to spy on Vid.
Oh, that guy.
And then in the second book, he figured out how the wells were getting poisoned.
Yeah.
So in a way, I like that we get characters like Gordel and Felt who just kind of like they keep popping up. Like,
Show
hey,
up
this
every so often.
this is people that are in this universe that we've met and they still exist. And it's not always just like some random new guy doing everything. But
yeah, it's not like Game of Thrones either, where instead of bringing back the same character, there's just like another character.
And then you got to remember that character too, because he's going to become super important later.
That's just because the original character filling that role died, and then a new character had to come along to fill that role.
25,000 defenders of the city is what Ham says. And Set says that most of the troops are probably out, like, keeping control of the other cities in the area. And Vin's like, oh, wait, do you think the other cities would, like, rebel and switch sides back to you? And Set's like, oh, no, they would just make their own kingdoms. Maybe you've noticed this is a thing that keeps happening. They're going to try to trick Yeoman. He's like, hey, tell everyone to stay inside during the mists, but get ready for a raid so that we can trick him maybe into thinking we're scared of the mists. And Set wants to try to attack the surrounding cities to distract and try to, like, starve the area out. He's like, we can take these other cities with no defenses, and then we'll kind of rule the area around here. And Elend's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not here to just, like, conquer back your homeland. We're here to get the storage cache, and there's not any reason to pillage the countryside in the process.
We're actually not here for your feelings.
Shocker, I know. But Set makes a point. He's like, what do you think you're going to find in this cache? Some magical thing to stop the ash? Like, that's Adium isn't even going to do that. And he says, you've been chasing a puzzle left by the Lord Ruler for the better part of a year. Has it not occurred to you that the man was a sadist? There is no way out of this. And he makes a point that we didn't actually know before this, that the Western Dominance has plateaus that are the most elevated farmland in the Empire. And the higher altitude means closer to the sun. So if we're going to find plants that can survive the Damus, this is where you'll want to grow them. So I guess that's good to know.
Yeah, useful info. I will admit I was really thrown in this little, rant of his. He calls Elend by his first name. Like, when did you get on a first name basis with these people? Still, like, no one's calling you Ashweather yet.
It's just too hard to say.
Ashy boy.
Ashy boy.
Just come out like a Staten Island dude, like, hey, Ashy boy.
Then again, Set did name his son Meow Meow or whatever, so maybe he doesn't have a problem with hard names too.
I can never actually remember his real name. What is it?
It's Gneordin, something like that, like Njorden.
Njorden. And that's how we got to Mjolnir, which is and then Meow Meow. I got it
now.
Which
I like
again,
Meow Meow
when's
better.
that guy gonna do something?
Right? Still hasn't done anything. He just hangs out. I don't know that we even see him at this meeting. He was at the last meeting, but so was Allrianne. So, Set's kids just
and she
keep
said more than
coming
he
to
did.
stuff. She did.
It's not bring your kids to work day.
But Set wants to assassinate King Yeoman.
Again,
And Elend's like,
shocker.
no. Yeah, well. Elend's like, no, we're not going to do that. And Set's like, why not? We have 2 Mistborn. Like, what's the point of you? And Brandon has something to say about this that I wanted to touch on, because he's like, the assassination card is one that I'm hesitant to play. Perhaps it's old-fashioned morals on my part, but I'm saving up the quote-unquote guilt from assassinating so many people character conflict for a different book sometime. I'd like it to be a major theme sometime as I work out what it does to a person to kill in that way. But I feel that the lack of assassinations in book 2 is one of the weaker parts of the novel. And to be honest, despite my own explanations and rationalizations, I think there probably should have been more of an attempt by the good guys to just kill Straff and Set.
I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue that point.
just go kill Straff. It would have been so much easier. And Set's like, Ham says, we don't work that way. And Set's like, that didn't stop Vin from, like, tearing a hole through my army back in the day. Back before we teamed up, he says.
Teamed up? He's very familiar
that's definitely
with these
what
people. And it's like, you are still a total prick. like, teamed up, making a lot of assumptions there.
Yep.
Well, and I think Elend takes him to task for it a little bit here. He's like, look,
He does.
we're not friends. Like, I'm not here to do what you want. Like, you're going to take what I give you, or you're not getting anything. So just shut up, and we're going to do this my way. I'm the king.
Yeah.
Yep. He's just like, if we make an alliance, I don't get my city back, Set complains, because Elend wants to try diplomacy, make an alliance, everybody's happy. He's like, you're forgetting something, Set. We didn't team up. You knelt before me offering up an oath. Actually, he knelt before Vin, if I remember right. Elend wasn't there, but still. And so he's like, yeah, I'm going to give you a kingdom, but you don't get to pick it.
I mean, he didn't really kneel either. He doesn't, like, his legs don't work.
That's true. I think he had people, like, lower him to a kneeling position.
I think that is what happened, yeah. Like, also, Set, it's not your city, bro. If we take it, it's my city.
And so Set's like sitting there taken aback by this, is like, hey, I'll give you a kingdom, the kingdom I pick, and when I pick it, you don't get to pick any of that shit. And finally Set smiles and he's like, man, you've changed.
You'll get what I say again and you'll be happy with it. Now eat your beans.
And really, I mean, he may not be thrilled, but I think Set is at the point here where it's like, it's this or dead. So, okay. Vin is always here to remind him of how easily it could be dead instead of this. So
it's like Set is Jane, Elend is Simon, and Vin is River. Just like, by the way, I can kill you with my brain.
Yep. Set does feel like Jane. Actually, now that you said that, less weapony, but still.
Yeah. A bit more eloquent.
Yeah, and I mean, Jane had like a kind of loyalty to Mal in a lot of ways. Even when he was like turning over River and Simon, it was like he still liked Mal and respected Mal. I don't think Set has that for anybody.
Yeah. Also, Set's not as useful as Jane. Just saying.
No. Unless you count all the soldiers that he brought to the table. But the next bit is my favorite bit of the chapter, where Elend's like, so Vin, you think you can get into the city? And she's like, I hope that was meant to be rhetorical.
He was like, I just want to be polite, I'm not telling you what to do.
But they want Set to give a list of informants, noblemen that might still be loyal, that kind of thing that Vin can sneak in and kind of communicate with. I like that Set's reaction is, noblemen? Loyal?
And Elend is just like, can you say one fucking thing that isn't just annoying as shit?
Are you going to help us or not, man? Do you want that kingdom?
Oh, man.
Elend's still just going, good lord, we traded clubs for this.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, also, I think, who's the guy who took over for Straff? Jannarl? He's got to be around here somewhere, right? I don't know what he's up to.
Didn't they send him somewhere else?
Yeah, it may have been mentioned in this book, actually. Hold on. I'm going to look it up because it's going to bother me otherwise. I searched for Jannarl, and the first thing that comes up is Set saying Pedron and Jannarl can suck on that. Okay, it says Penrod was in Luthadel. Jannarl ruled the Northern Dominance.
Oh, yeah, so he's probably up there in the Northern Dominance, like, taking care of business, because they have the Northern Dominance.
Yeah, it says Jannarl's smaller force of troops was being used to maintain order in the cities that he did have control of. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like he's not ruling over, because, I mean, the whole point of Breeze and Sayes going up there was because we don't have control. You got your freaking animal farm going on up there.
Yeah. And I think probably what it is like the citizen rules Urto, and the rest of the Northern Dominance may still be under like Jannarl, and so he's kind of taking care of those smaller cities. But after the meeting breaks up, Vin and Elend kind of have their own side discussion where Elend acknowledges maybe we will have to try assassination. I hope not, but maybe. And he says that he could go with her to sneak into the city, and she says, no, you're noisy. Plus, you smell. Just, what do I smell like? An emperor. A Tenai would pick you out in seconds.
She's like, love you, honey. You stink.
You smell like an emperor. I don't know what that means exactly, but
it means he smells like soap, which is not something in common supply.
Exactly.
And he's like, wait, don't you possess an imperial scent as well, Miss Empress? She's like, well, yeah, but I know how to get rid of it. So.
Right.
That's like just my natural musk.
They see Elend walking through town. They're like, hey, look, it's the king. And they're like, how do you know he's the king? He hasn't got shit all over him.
And that's the end of the chapter. She's just like, Elend, you're not good enough to come with me. And he just thinks like, dear blunt Vin. And then he tells her to have fun as she flies off.
Yes.
I do love Vin and her bluntness. There's something to be said for that. Okay. Let us do predicaments. Jamie can go first.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot this week. I guess Spook is going to become a bigger character than he is, if that makes sense. I think there's a lot that we're going to unravel about him, and I'm really interested to see what happens with him now that he's got an extra power. So whether he decides to use that for good becomes a bit of a problem. I'm not really sure yet. Fadrex, I thought that we were going to be sort of a little bit closer to mid-book by the time we got there, but maybe that will get resolved a bit quicker than I was expecting as well. At this stage, I still think the biggest, not battle, but the biggest conflict, I think, will come from the citizen and from that area, because that's some scary stuff going on over there. So hopefully we'll hear a bit more about that soon. I actually thought there was a bit of a glimmer of hope for Sayes he's got that little bit of a fire in there. I mean, it's buried under a lot of depression and dark times for him, but he knows that he's got something to do, which I'm like, if he can hold on to that, that's really good, because I'd really love to see old Sazed again by the time we're through. Yeah, I'm glad Damo's okay at some level. I didn't think they'd kill him yet. He's becoming a bit of a character, so kind of glad he's still going. But yeah, no, I don't really have anything to predict as such.
The Citizen really does seem like the bigger threat right now, right? But we haven't met Yeoman yet, so we don't know what kind of threat he might pose.
Yeah, true.
Are we overlooking the threat of Ruin and the Inquisitors?
Yeah, there is that. We do know from Marsh's last chapter that there's 300,000 Koloths sitting out there with him just waiting for whatever Ruin's plan is. That's going to be hard to fight.
Something's going to have to change for them to actually have a chance to be able to fight it. They've got to get some more information. Tensoon's going to have to be able to reunite with Vin to share what's going on, because, Tensoon doesn't know what's been going on either. So when they're in a position to actually inform him of what's happened and tell him about Ruin and everything, he'll probably have some information that will help them sort of be able to understand it a little bit better. But there's got to be some information or a way to communicate or something out there that's going to help them, because at the moment anything they try to plan or do is going to be thwarted. Like they just don't have a chance.
Anything they say gets overheard by Ruin, apparently. But beyond that, we're talking about Citizen, Yeoman, even Inquisitors and Koloths. Beyond all that, the real threat that is hiding in the background this whole book is the Mists, which they talk about a lot, and the Ash, which we get to look at in this chapter, is like so extreme that it's now clogged up the canals, which are the major thoroughfare of the Final Empire. Everything moved along these canals, and there's so much ash that they're clogged. So that's like a whole other level of threat, is Mist and Ash. Like, what do we do about that?
Is it something that they are going to have to unite? Diplomacy will work eventually, or by force, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect all of them. It's not going to be just one
Right.
group of people are safe, and unless they know something that not everyone else knows. But
I guess that's kind of what happened to Set, was diplomacy by force.
yeah,
That's how he joins up. So yeah, okay. So we have a lot of threats and not a lot of solutions at this point. So it's going to be interesting.
it's still pretty early days though. I think we've seen this pattern before. You've got a lot of little things going on, and we'll just build information, and then we'll get to that point where it's like, this all comes into line with this, and this makes sense, and we're not far enough in yet to get that information that triggers something and goes, yeah, this is how it's going to unfold, or this is what we think is going to happen.
That's true. Even in the first book, it was like the Lord Ruler was this impossible to kill thing that was God, until we kind of found the little secret that was buried the whole way. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, Joe.
I don't have a lot either. I think I talked a little bit about maybe my overarching theories on some of these things as we were going along. I feel like sometimes when I do that, it's a little easier for me to express my brain. So
Sure.
I think I've talked a little bit about where I think maybe we're heading and some of the overarching things. Yeoman, I just need some clarification. Was Yeoman an obligator? Is that what was said?
Yes, he was an obligator for the Canton of Resource, I think it may have said.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I was trying to recall exactly what his role was before this. So my guess is that he's going to be it's not going to be they're not going to have an easy go of it with Yeoman either, even if they do go the diplomacy route. I'm guessing that neither side's going to be willing to make the concessions that are necessary. So they may have to use Vin as extra muscle. I don't know. Maybe they'll find a contingent within the city when Vin goes into spy that is willing to help overthrow Yeoman, but maybe they're going to want a piece of the city. So I'm not sure. Maybe what that is. Here's what I might be more interesting for me to see, and I don't think it's going to happen because he's scared of Vin. But I'd be interesting to see like a double cross from Set, some kind of thing where he doesn't like that Elend's not going to give him the city necessarily, and so he takes matters into his own hands and starts like slaughtering people in the nearby towns and trying to take over cities and stuff. It might be interesting to see that. And then here's what I really hope happens. I hope, just like in all our favorite dramatic TV shows, I hope there's a chapter where it's like a musical and they're all singing. And I think that would be great. But I don't know that it fits within the genre too well.
So once more with feeling from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? No, I'm with you.
Yeah. Or the musical episode of Supergirl, which I didn't watch, but, is a thing.
It's like all the Scar trying to dredge the canal, just going, roll 16 tons. What do you get?
Yeah, exactly.
Another day older and you're deeper in debt.
Yeah. Or they're like, look down, look down. Yeah. But that might be fun. I really hope that Sazed kind of comes more. Maybe the Urto stuff will be good, because if the Citizen is the main, like, besides Ruin, of course, if Citizen is the main threat.
What if he is Ruin?
Well, I don't know about that. But if he is kind of the main human threat in this portion of the book, I'd really like Sazed to be heavily involved in kind of his takedown. I'd like more clarification. I think we'll get more clarification on maybe what the Kelsier ghost thing was. So that might be good, because they didn't really talk about that in this chapter, because I guess he's passed out having a flashback, flashback of plot convenience. And then other than that, I guess I really want to see how all these strings come together to form the web of this story, because I feel like this is the last book in this first era series. Like, there's got to be a convergence of all of these things somehow, and I hope it's weaved into a nice web, as opposed to like some of the theories we had last time with, like, the Citizen is actually, like, in league with the Inquisitors. Like that, something like that would be really interesting. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to. I'm optimistic and excited about the future of the book.
Okay, that's good. We like optimistic and excited. This is a plus. Okay, Jack, what do you got?
So I've got a couple just of possibilities of things that might happen in the next few chapters. I think the most immediate one I have is, like, they've made it to Fadrex. Ruin will have another Kolos army and an Inquisitor or two hiding out nearby, just waiting to see what's happening. I think, like, Ruin's probably thinking, there's no point sending this army in and potentially losing, like, more Inquisitors and Kolos to these guys when the two human armies might just wipe each other out in the process. So I'll just wait to see, and if they manage to unify, then I'll send in my guys. So yeah, I think, it'll just be they finally resolved the conflict in Fadrex. We're all good, and the Kolos are attacking.
I like the idea that he's like, I'll let you guys ruin yourselves unless you fail, and then I'll have to do it for you.
Yeah. It's like one of the classic James Bonds, like the villains talking about. It's like, no, you don't fight your enemy. You set two enemies against each other and then pick off the survivor when they're weak.
That was the entire plot of the last book. Both the armies are sitting out there like, when the other army attacks, I'll have all the advantage.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's what I think Ruin's up to at the moment. I think Spook is going to abuse his power, not through any ill intention, but I think he's just going to make the situation in Urto a whole lot worse, because he's just going to go to town using his new powers. Like, look at all the shit I can do now. I'm so useful. And actually just fucks everything up for everyone. And because I think that's a nice parallel to Rashek getting power and, like, being manipulated by Ruin to an extent, and just like, yeah, I'm trying to do the right thing, and actually wound up destroying everything. After our conversation last week, I'm sort of convinced that Spook is like a sort of Inquisitor now with that spike, and Ruin's in his head. I think that was the Kelsier. I still think Ruin is the Kelsier ghost. So maybe Ruin will just sort of push him into doing stuff he really shouldn't be doing. What else did I have? So, like, I think Tensoon's going to escape, and Varcel really has a chip on his shoulder about Tensoon. So I think once Tensoon escapes, Varcel is going to chase him down, and there's going to be like a big fight, and then it's like, I'm going to have to kill another Kandra. Or else Tensoon will say, you can't condemn me for killing a Kandra when you're trying to kill me yourself. And Varcel's going to be like, fuck you. And
for some reason, I'm picturing this as like Les Mis now.
And I am Varcel.
Maybe that's where you'll get your musical portion.
Yeah, there you go. They'll sing as they're fighting. It'll be great.
It seems stars, but they don't know what they look like, so.
24601.
Gosh.
No, it'd be third generation.
Yeah, that's supposed
to
to.
too.
But you're saying that you don't think that Spook has learned to be subtle in the last 10 minutes or whatever since we last saw him.
I think that he's gotten a whole bunch of new powers and will just think to himself, I can do so much shit now. And he can. And he'll, like the Jurassic Park creator, he'll be so focused on whether or not he could, he doesn't stop to think about whether or not he should.
Okay.
Yeah. And the music will kick in.
That's how you beat Ruin, with dinosaurs.
Yeah, that would be how I would do it. Nah, I'd probably use an army of corgis. That would be way cuter.
I think there's a book series I've got called The Dinosaur Knights. It's like exactly what it sounds like, knights mounted on dinosaurs.
Sure.
And the series was meant to be 6 books, so they got to 3 and then the author passed away, so it's never going to be finished, unfortunately. It's not the best series I've ever read. There's I have a lot of problems with it, but there is one fucking awesome moment in one of the books where it's like you've got these 2 armies charging at each other. The guy at the head, he used to ride on a I can't remember if it was a T-Rex or an Allosaurus, but it's been gone for ages and he hasn't seen it in like months and months and months. He thinks it's dead. And they're like, yeah, it's like the climax of the book. They're fighting these armies. The main villain of the book is like above him, about to kill him. And then all of a sudden they all hear this roar and this fucking Allosaurus bursts out of the trees and just eats the main bad guy. I'm like, oh, that's the best.
I can see how this would be very cathartic. Yep. Dinosaurs eating the bad guy.
Because like you see like the dinosaur's POV throughout the book trying to get back to him. It's like a very loyal, murderous, giant carnivorous dog trying to get back to its master who it loves.
Now you got me thinking of Game of Thrones with like the dire wolves when like they're separated from their wolves.
Similar.
Yeah, or the dragons. I mean, in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's probably a close comparison.
Those guys are basically dinosaurs.
But yeah, the only other prediction I have is a bit more long term. But I think at some point Ruin's going to send Marsh to fight Vin just to try and get more of a sense of her and see if like she might hesitate when she's fighting him.
That would make sense. I mean, they weren't ever super close, but close enough.
No, but she has a connection with him.
Right.
I mean, we saw in the last book, Sayes don't give a shit. Sayes was ready to pulp that guy.
Yep.
But Vin, on the other hand, might not.
Well, and if only because of how close she was to Kelsier, and that's Kelsier's brother. So, yeah.
Right.
Interesting. That would be an interesting thing. He's like, maybe I can make her hesitate. That's assuming that Ruin's worried about Vin at all. So far, he's manipulated her masterfully into releasing him. So, she might be his best friend.
She's kind of like, taking his army away bit by bit.
Yeah, that's a fair point. She killed that Inquisitor up pretty well. Elend kind of killed the Inquisitor up pretty good. One of them had a Koloss that squished the guy's head, and then they took all his Koloss away. So yeah, that's a fair point.
It's a stupid thing, but I kind of hope that at some point Spook and Set encounter each other, and Spook just decks him. It's like, you're like, my uncle was better than you. How dare you replace my uncle? That would make me love Spook.
Damu's become General Damu, so it may be that he's like more actively in charge of the army like Clubs was, although he doesn't seem like a tactician sort of in charge of the army, so maybe they're kind of like splitting Clubs duties.
When Set first showed up, they sort of made the comparison in this book, that is, they made the comparison. It's like he's really taken over from Clubs as the tactician of the group.
Yeah. Okay. He did lead an army, so he may know some stuff about that, which is more than Elend has done. Before this book, he's never like led armies. Yeah. Anyway, we have one email that I wanted to hit on from J. Jonah Jameson, and
I haven't heard from him in a while,
right?
Oh, our good buddy John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, huh?
He's actually in the Discord, and I don't remember if it's every week or every month or what, but he changes his name in the Discord to something else that begins with J. And I didn't realize this until somebody's like, "Hey, somebody give me another name that begins with J." And somebody's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, I'm the guy from the emails, and I've been changing my name." And I was like, "Wow, I had not been paying enough attention to have realized this." Anyway, he says, "Hey there, I'm really enjoying your read through of Hero of Ages so far. It's one of the most fast-paced books and one of my favorites, and the theories so far have been amazing and sometimes wildly hilarious." And then he says some stuff that's going to touch on, not really spoilers, but close enough that I'm going to skip that. Sorry, Jay. Also, host guy, please stop spoiling them that Alrianne is the Hero of Ages. At least you didn't tell them that she's actually a first generation Khandra, or that she also has all the adium, in her petticoats.
Nice.
Good point. She could probably fit it all under those 7 layers of skirt.
That's where it's been hiding this whole time. Wasn't till the time of next. So thank you, Jackson Jingleheimer Schmidt. Very nice of you to send us, drop us a line. If anyone else wants to email us, the Sanderlanche@gmail.com is where you can send these emails to. We're also on Instagram, which I didn't put an Instagram up this week or last week, I don't think, but that's because it's been crazy and I didn't have internet for almost a whole week. So, some stuff slips by. But we are on Instagram. We're on Twitter at the Sanderlanche. We're on Facebook, where I occasionally post random pictures of crap, even though that's more of an Instagram thing. We're on YouTube now. I have not uploaded any new episodes to YouTube, so it's still just the Final Empire. So I need to go back and actually get back into the swing of making some new videos to put the Well of Ascension on YouTube. Yeah. But we're there also, so you can check us out there.
Enjoy us in the car or on the boat, wherever good times are had.
Bender. We also have one new review on Apple Podcasts this week. It's from our old friend Angela 2.
Oh, Angela 2, you're the best.
Angela left us 5 stars, and the review says, fun way to experience the Cosmere. This is a great way to re-experience Brandon Sanderson's stuff, I can talk, through the eyes of a first-time reader. The theories and reactions are so much fun to listen to, and it's crazy the details the podcast crew picks up on. Thank you, Angela.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was very soothing as well. You're a soother, Angela.
Welcome to the Misting Crew.
Welcome.
I was about to say no. She doesn't like soothers. Like, no, that was Angela 1.
Yeah. If
I
Angela 2,
I don't think other Angela likes them a whole lot either.
Oh no, Angela 2, what have I done? No, I take it back. Hold on, I can do this. It's
That explode.
Yeah, I know. You're a 10-eye, Angela. Your senses are off the charts.
Oh, good times. Thank you, Angela. Anyone else, please leave reviews wherever you get your podcasts, on the boat, whatever that Joe said.
If you listen to us while hang gliding, how?
Yeah,
that's impressive.
If you listen to us while watching Futurama, way to multitask.
Honestly, hang gliding is a good socially distanced experience to be having right now. So,
That's true.
It's true. Listen to us on the treadmill. It won't help you run faster, but it may help you fall.
Okay.
And then you might snap. What?
Oh, there you go.
Ooh. Yeah, a traumatic fall. Slamming into a wall. Being laughed at. Emotionally and physically painful.
Yep.
Leads to a snap. There's like a misery index, right? It's like traumatic, emotionally painful, physically painful, lasting effect. You have to score like a 65 at least on the misery index to snap.
There's a show called The Misery Index. I don't really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's got the Impractical Jokers and Jamila Jamil, who's really great in The Good Place, which I recommend.
Yeah.
I knew her from somewhere. We watched like 1 or 2 episodes of that show.
Yeah.
I was like, I know her from somewhere.
Yep, she's in The Good Place.
I only watched season 1 of The Good Place.
That's probably one of the best seasons of it, but it gets good.
I mean, I don't think it really had a bad season, but
I've been meaning to go back
season
and watch more.
Season 2, I don't know how I felt about it.
Also, I read spoilers for future seasons, so I was kind of like, oh.
Oh, yeah. If you don't know, like, if you know ahead of time what's going on, like, I can't, that's not one of those that I can really rewatch. I feel like I absorbed everything. My wife cried at the finale, and we were done.
Oh. Anyway.
The finale was like, yeah.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. For next time, we're down to 3 chapters. We're reading 26, 27, and 28. So maybe slightly more meaty than some of the chapters we've been reading. It's really the middle one that's the long one here. But anyway, so for next week, come back for 3 chapters. It'll be there's some fun stuff that I'm interested to see what Dak in particular picks up on here.
Oh, geez, no pressure.
All the pressure. Anyway. So yes, come back.
You watch. There's going to be a fucking volcano in this chapter, and everyone in Discord's going to laugh at me.
Somebody's going to make a volcano. It's going to be great. With Adium somehow. The Adium's all in a volcano. That's why they can't find it.
Bowie's going to pop up out of the volcano and be like, forget about the baby.
Okay. I don't know why.
As one does.
Sorry. You said under pressure earlier, and it triggered.
Oh, right.
It triggered David Bowie.
Oh my
Under
god.
pressure.
Okay, wasn't to the time of next, everyone.
I'll settle for Freddie Mercury.
Music by Miracle Sound.
Dang it. Okay. Fun. It's fine. We'll do it like that.
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound, as a reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must. And when the world starts to burn, at the point of no return, keep a hold of your conviction, tear out the affliction, and for the